Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. How you doing, Bruce?
Oh, I'm doing well, all things considered, David. I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan, so I'm kind of pretty frustrated tonight, and I dare say I'm not alone in that respect out here in oil country.
That's like now we know how everybody feels because we can go on social media and see the most not the most extroverted, because there's lots of introverts on social media who have loud voices there, but the most publicly demonstrative Oiler fans are all on social media, and they are not happy. I am certain, even though I have not checked. Because what are you going to be happy about? That was a highly winnable game against the weak hockey team, and they were as flat as a pancake, Bruce. Flat as a pancake.
Montreal Canadiens came into this game with a 3.89 goals against per game record as per NHL.com. Second worst in the league. Only Pittsburgh at 3.90 is marginally worse. And Montreal just checked the crap out of Edmonton, and they looked like the 95 Devils. Or else the Oilers looked like the 74 Capitals. I'm not sure which, but it was an increasingly frustrating game for the players. You could see the frustration growing, but it was Montreal just was on the inside of them all night long and cutting off passes, getting in their faces, preventing zone entries. And Edmonton players their frustration was evident. So many sticks being banged against the boards.
Yeah, can we say that the Montreal was up for this game, Bruce?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and the Oilers were not. Would that be a
well? I think they. Yeah.
We can't read minds, but that's how it looked. That's what it looked like. Although the Oilers came out and they were okay.
They were good. They were good for a while, but anyway, we'll talk about this more in my bad thing.
Okay, Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. What is your good thing?
Well, David, I'm going to go with the pregame warm-up. Bell on Amazon Prime. They got this cool thing. I know this is seriously cool. This is one of the best innovations I've seen in hockey coverage on TV in a long time.
Yeah.
They take you like at least a half hour before the game, because that's when I tuned in. Yeah. And I was inside the center bell, and they were showing the two teams warming up, the crowd noise, the organ, the PA announcer, no friggin' talking heads. No, none of this, what my mom used to call hazanga, in the pregame build-up, like some panel discussion. None of that. They just took you in the arena and let you enjoy the atmosphere of the Bell Center, and I enjoyed it. I thought the pregame warm-up was just hot fire. I was a happy guy there for about a half hour until they dropped the actual puck. Well, I was kind of an unhappy guy for the different half hour between times of the warm-up, and when they finally got around to dropping the puck, with due respect to Mr. Hood and his Monsieur Oud and his great award that he no doubt deserved, that long celebration, kind of, I don't know. As a fan, I was sort of waiting, let's get this game going. With the warm-up part, like, I guess they do that before every game, and I'm here for it. I've been watching hockey for 62 years. I never went to the Montreal Forum. I've never been to the Center Bell, and I've been to a lot of warm-ups, but they've all been in Edmonton. So I just thought that was I'm being facetious, but only because there was not anything else to praise. But I legitimately enjoyed that, and I thought, what a neat idea! And get the talking heads out of here and just let us be there in the barn and watch the players go through their ablutions.
Well, I'm changing my good thing at this point to your use of the word hazanga. I have never heard
about that.
I've never heard that word before, hazanga, until tonight, and I'm delighted by it, Bruce. What does it mean? What is it?
It's a joke. There was a joke about a guy going to some foreign country where they didn't speak the same language, and he was some kind of a diplomat, or maybe he was a proselytizer or something, and he
Okay.
gave a speech to the public, and every
A
time he stopped,
missionary.
yeah, that's the word. He'd stop speaking, and the crowd would roar "Hosanna," and he'd say something else, and the crowd would roar "Hosanna." And then when the speech was done, he he asked the his host. He said, "Well, the crowd sure seemed to like that with their response." And uh, on their way out, I missed parts of the joke. They were walking across a cattle field, and the missionary was warned, "Careful, don't step in the Hazanga."
Okay, I like
Told
that.
properly, it's a great joke, but
Holy
that's the
moly.
gist of it.
Well, that was
That's
a
the
good
gist of
joke.
it.
So now
My
we know
mom
how to
used to
say
tell that joke, so there you
BS
go.
in another languages. Hazanga. That's
She would say,
fantastic.
"Are they done with the Hazanga yet?" And you know exactly what she meant.
Bruce, this podcast is the cult of Hazanga. uh, not to put us down or anything, but all right. Okay. So, my good things, in all seriousness, there were a couple Oilers players who I thought played well.
Mhm.
I would have started with Calvin Pickard, but we're going to get to why I'm not in a second.
Yep.
But I thought Jeff Skinner, he was just one of the few Oilers players who got stuff done on the attack and gave up little in his own end. And I do not, at this point, honestly, Bruce, don't get why he is on the fourth line and Corey Perry's on the second line. I mean, it's just madness, if you ask me. I don't get it at all. Like I do get it a bit because Skinner really needed a message sent
Yeah.
about back checking, covering your man, defensive
Mhm.
hockey. Get serious about it, buddy. Get serious about it. But I think one or two games on the fourth line would have done it. Is this his third
Yeah.
or fourth? But anyway, he was dangerous and he broke in late. Ekholm set him up. He broke in late on a chance. Um, he uh, he got another good shot off. I think. Let me just go to his game grades. First grade A shot of the game. He charged in and got off the shot, and he picked the puck out of the air and set up Derek Ryan. He picked the puck off the boards. It was going up the boards, and he set up Ryan for a 5 alarm shot. So this is when the Oilers were down 2-0. He manufactured two grade A shots. The Oilers were doing nothing, and he created something. So I really like that, and I do think he's an interesting player, who's he's got to raise his intensity in his defensive play if he's going to play on the Oilers and help this mediocre team become a good or very good team. But he does have a good shot. He's got really good hands. He should be playing with Draisaitl or McDavid. And again, I think he was mismatched with both Draisaitl and Arvidsson, both shooters. But Leon could use a shooter on that line right now. Connor could use a shooter on his line too, frankly. So I'd like to see that move like tomorrow night. We need to see that.
Some point, either on the broadcast or perhaps it was a pregame show on Ched. Uh, uh, I know it wasn't during the pregame warmup because nobody said anything. But it was pointed out that Skinner has played the least of any of the Oilers wingers with McDavid or Draisaitl, a combined just 85 minutes. Skinner with either of those big centers. So mostly he's been playing down the lineup with depth players, Derek Ryan or a little bit Adam Henrique as the center.
Yeah.
And so not, for a guy who's a 10-time 20 goal scorer on a team that's friggin' desperate for goals, I don't quite understand it. Don't
Neither
quite
do I.
understand it.
They need to call up Noah Philp and Drake Caggiula again too. This team needs an injection of something up top there. They're just anyway. My other good thing is Ty Emberson, Bruce.
Yep.
I always have to stop a second to think of their first names because they brought in three
Right.
defensemen recently: Ty, Travis, and
Troy,
Troy.
and Troy.
So Ty
uh,
Emberson,
uh-huh.
I just really liked how he moved out there and moved the puck, and I
Mhm.
thought he defended well and played well. and he didn't get
And
a
he
whole lot
actually
more.
mashed a guy with a body check,
Led the
which
team
stood
with
out.
3 hits. Yeah. So he actually had some life and jump in this game, and he's making plays. Like I think he's a good player. He is he much better than Stetcher? I think he might be. Stetcher struggles because of his size. And Stetcher was good tonight too, but he does struggle in battles in the corner and sometimes around the net. And Emerson's just that much bigger than him, so has that much more potential. But they're both similar players. They skate well. They like they're not really great at anything, but they're good skaters. They're good passers, and they're smart defenders. So I like both of those players, and I liked Stetcher tonight, but I thought Emerson stood out in a good way on his pairing with. Well, he wasn't really always paired with Kulak, but he did play a lot of time with Kulak, and yeah, he's coming on. He's been a very low event player, Bruce, in terms of
Hmm.
grade A shots. He doesn't create many, but he has not. He's given up the lowest rate.
Hmm.
He's made the lowest rate of mistakes on grade A shots of any Oilers defenseman. Now he's not
Oh,
playing the tough kind of
no. True.
opponents that Nurse, Ekholm, and Bouchard regularly play, and he's not playing the heavy minutes.
Right.
So that's not an indication he can step up into the top four. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, this is what you want to see from a bottom pairing defenseman.
Yes.
It's not unusual for actually these guys to have a low rate of mistakes on grade A shots against. They should have that. They're not playing against
They're
the
playing
Bobby
against the
Hulls.
depth guys. Yeah.
They really are. They're playing
So
against the Big Bobby Clobbers, not the Bobby Hulls.
they're playing
So
against the Joel and Armia
Armia and
and Emil Heinemans of the world, as
well,
opposed to,
Heineman was on the power play, but yeah.
the first lines. But anyway, he was. Um, uh, there's a sort of an artificial. It took one of the interesting developments during the analytics era was that first of all, the impression that many got that some of the third pairing guys were actually really good and should be promoted.
Yeah.
And then the realization that took some, I would say, years to really arrive at that the third pairing guys' numbers tended to be artificially inflated because of the way the coaches used them. And not only that they would play against lesser caliber opponents, but that even when they got put out on the ice against elite players, it would be at the end of the elite players' shifts where they would come over the boards with the puck in the other team's end and maybe keep it in for a while, and their tired stars would finally make it off to the bench. And hey, you say, hey, look at they pinned him in for 30 seconds and outshot him 2-0. And that kind of things add up. And there's a lot of third pairing guys where if you just took the numbers at face value, and I'll offer Matt Benning as a great example in Edmonton Oilers,
I was thinking of him,
that was
Bruce.
consistently put up good numbers, better than the second pairing numbers. And think, well, why isn't he on the second pairing? But when he did play on the second pairing, he didn't put up those kind of numbers. And so it's kind of this artificial thing because it's a game within a game, and the third pairing guys are sheltered, and that shelter makes a big damn deal of difference. But
Yeah.
they've
We
so
see that, Bruce, we don't see it in the forwards having better attacking numbers. Like the low end forwards don't have like they don't make more contributions
right.
to grade because that's really hard to do. It takes skills.
Uh,
But we do see it we see it consistently in that those third pairing defensemen, their rate of mistakes on
mhm,
grade A shots against is often lower and should be lower. And what
right.
what you'll consistently see is when they do get moved up, they just start bleeding chances against. Like, the rare one makes the jump to the
Yeah.
second pairing or the even the top pairing. But most of them just start to really, really suffer when they get bumped up. And so Bouchard has been taking a lot of heat recently. Fair enough. He made some terrible plays the other game. But he's playing against the toughest competition in heavy minutes again and again and again and again. Now, he's also playing with McDavid much of the time, so that's to his benefit. But in his own zone, it's not. And they're gonna make a higher rate of mistakes, and what you want to do is just keep those down. You know, if a top pairing defenseman's making 2 mistakes on grade A shots a game, that's too much. But if it's 1.5 per game, he's hanging in there. Now, none of them, Nurse, Ekholm, or Bouchard, so far this year are hanging in there by that standard. They're closer to 2 than they are
Mm.
to 1.5 major mistakes per game on the grade A shots at even strength. But Anyway, I'm getting into the weeds here.
Well, I'm going to get
Bruce.
into the weeds a tiny
Uh-oh.
bit on
All right.
Emerson, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he played the least 5-on-5 of the 7 D-men tonight, 9 minutes and 58 seconds. It was close. Most of them were 10, 11.
Yeah.
But when he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot Montreal 8-1. And when Joshua Brown, who played more minutes, one more minute than Emerson was on the ice, Oilers got outshot 9-3. And I'm not sure the coaching staff was necessarily on top of this one either. I think this was a team effort.
Yeah. Josh Brown. You know,
Uh,
they're going into Ottawa, which is the
mhm,
heaviest hitting team in the league this year. So it
mhm.
might be good to have Josh Brown in the lineup for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's an
And
obvious guy to call up.
hopefully he can add something here, keep up with the play. It's a real challenge. The
Yeah.
Oilers to win, the Oilers must be the highest tempo team on the ice every night. They must pass the puck faster and smarter than the other team to win. That's their strength. And so they've got to do it. They've just got to. And if you can't do that, if you're a lag on that, that's a problem. It's a real
Yeah.
problem. And they don't have a lot of players who are legs on that. It's the truth. Like they really can play that high tempo game when they get going. But Brown will be challenged to play it.
They got to get the puck to do the work to play the high tempo game though, because they don't have the speed that they had before. But when they get the puck moving, then that becomes irrelevant. There was a couple of sequences in the game early tonight where it seemed like the puck was zipping around pretty good, but they're uh, they're not a fast team anymore. I'm sorry to say.
What is your bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah, it's a general thing, David. I thought the Oilers kind of got pushed out of this game,
Yeah.
and I hated that. Uh, and they were in the first period pretty good, and they certainly controlled the play, outshot Montreal by a significant margin. At one point, they had the shots up to 21-10, and the score was 0-0. And Montreal, I got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, I mentioned their 389 goals against average. Well, they played their asses off in this game. They played super hard defensively. They were, really sort of focused on their defensive chores, and they did them well. And they clearly frustrated the Oilers. McDavid, there's 2 or 3 videos of him banging his stick against the boards, and stuff wasn't working out. But instead of banging your stick against the boards, find some energy to go out there and do something positive, like win a puck battle, knock somebody down once in a while. Uh, and it just seemed to, as the game went on, happened less and less, and it was like the Oilers kind of lost interest in the game by the third period. And once it was 2-0, it couldn't end soon enough. As a fan, and it seemed that way for the players. And it just bothered me to watch them just sort of lose their focus and fall away from this game. Montreal is a beatable team, and they just couldn't find any solutions at all. A little bit of bad luck, a couple of posts, in the first part of the game. But once Montreal got
Neutral,
ahead,
yeah.
no real pushback at all, and they were,
Yeah.
their best players had a bad game. Here's quick stats: Bouchard -3, Ekholm's quite poor in this game, -3, Hyman -2, Draisaitl -3, McDavid -2, and everybody else saw it off, but didn't really weren't very dangerous, and they just weren't executing, and they were getting frustrated. And also, I just, one way to respond to that is to knock somebody down once in a while. And I've made this plaint about this team before, and they're going to be tested against Ottawa tomorrow. But I thought tonight, from a distance, I'd say the Oilers without Darnell Nurse looked like a pretty milquetoast team.
Whew, did
And
they
I
ever?
don't really like saying that.
Yeah, it's like not great team speed and not great physicality, Bruce. This is not a recipe
Hmm.
for winning hockey that I've seen very often in the NHL. I mean, you could argue the Detroit Red Wings, that when they won the cup might have not have been the fastest team and played with puck possession and puck movement. and not a lot of physicality, but they did have they had Maltby and Cronwall and McCarty. The Oilers are going to have to get those players on their roster, Bruce. And Corey Perry is not it. Like he's not that player anymore. McDavid one shot this game, Bruce. Like, come on. Anyway, my bad thing, Bruce. The second goal from Montreal. The first one was bad enough. It was a backbreaker coming at the end of the second period. We've often remarked on this in the podcast. If the team gets a key goal at the end of the second period, how it's a backbreaker for the other team. And that one was a lazy play. The first goal was a lazy play all around, and it ends up in the net. Like people were just a step behind the whole way, the whole team. But the second goal, Bruce, which puts the game essentially really pretty far out of reach, unless the Oilers come up with a huge effort. It starts with Leon Draisaitl getting muscled off the puck by Cole Caulfield, who probably weighs 100 pounds.
That's not good.
100 pounds less than Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, he's the lightest player in the league, I think.
That's probably not quite accurate, but it might not be that far off. Anyway, not only did Leon get muscled off the puck by Cole Caulfield, he stopped skating after that. And it essentially created an odd man situation where Ekholm was outnumbered on his side of the ice, trying to cover two guys. So he can't go to the shooter who's on the outside. The shooter of the puck, Caden Gooley. Ekholm can't go to him because he's got to cover two guys because Leon stopped moving. And Leon has been fantastic this season, Bruce. He's been the Oilers' best player this season. He's carried the team when other players were not, but not on that play, man. That was just atrocious. And I don't think I've singled out Leon as my bad thing. Regularly did it in other years, but this might be the first time this year. I think you did it once earlier, but he's been pretty good. But man, there was other plays too. There was a turnover that he made, then it led to like two great opportunities for Montreal, but they missed the net on both those shots. Right. He did not have a good game at all. And but the shot itself, Caden Gooley's shot, Bruce. Well, Calvin Pickard was really good and he was solid this game, but that he's got to have that. Short side out from beyond the dot, looked like he had a clear line of sight on it. He just was awkward and got beat.
Lost his posts, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's coming across the ice, right? So that's always a little harder for the goalie. You're kind of moving. You got to keep but that's the job, right? That is the job. And of course, he would not be happy with that at all. He'd be more upset than anyone probably. But that was, it was too bad because he had been really playing well and he might have stolen a game on a certain level. I mean, the grade A shots, Bruce, were 10-10. According to my preliminary count, 10-8 for the Oilers, just 8 for the Habs. They didn't have a lot, and the subset of the most dangerous 5 alarm shots were 4 each. So it was a very low event, boring, flat hockey game, which the Habs benefited from, and they did play well. They really did take over in the third, as you suggest. But that goal against, wow. That was as much as the goal at the end of the second period was a backbreaker. A bad goal.
Yeah, that was very deflating. Yeah.
They tried to pull the goalie to get some life, like just under 5 minutes left. The Oilers tried to pull the goalie to get desperation life, and they didn't even get it then. They had nothing.
McDavid coughed it up, and the guy hit the empty net from.
Yeah. They were walking around more stiff.
Long shot.
Yeah, they were skating around more stiff-legged than a 58-year-old Mike Tyson in this game, Bruce. All right. Number.
Yeah, well, this might explain some of the stiff-leggedness later in the game. My number is 4 minutes and 27 seconds, and that is the duration of a single shift by Edmonton Stars, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl. Closely followed by 4 minutes and 18 seconds for Evan Bouchard and 4 minutes and 16 seconds for Zach Hyman. And it all happened in the first period. Edmonton killed the first penalty, and just as the penalty ended, coach went to his standard ploy of putting out the McDavid Draisaitl power couple for the next shift to push back, and they pushed back for a good solid minute, and then McDavid drew a penalty driving towards the net, and so the ref's arm went up, and the ref's arm stayed up for another minute while the Oilers. This was actually a fantastic sequence, the best of the game from Edmonton. They had the puck on a string in the offensive zone, and they were very patient moving it around, and they set up at least two great scoring chances. That I think Montembeault stopped one, and one hit the post, and they were all over it. And then the whistle went finally on a sort of third rebound where the goalie finally froze it. They went to TV timeout. So, and during the TV timeout, I'm saying to my wife that if I'm the coach, even with the TV timeout, if I'm the coach, I'm starting the second unit and giving those guys 45 seconds more breather time. And if the second unit doesn't score, well, minute 15 still plenty of time for the power play. But anyway, he just stayed with the main unit, and they stayed out for the entirety of the 2 minute power play. And then for an additional 30 seconds after it was over, in fact, for quite a few of those 30 seconds, they still had four forwards and one defenseman in a 5-on-5 scenario pushing. And I don't know how much energy was expended in that one sequence, 4:27. But that's, you got to feel. I mean, McDavid went on the ice at 6:59 and he came off at 11:26. That is a lot of clock. And on the night, he played 18 shifts, 22 minutes and 42 seconds for an average of 115, which is outrageously high. And long shifts are not necessarily your friend. I understand why they thought this is our chance to get that first goal, push, 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 push. But when they ended that shift with nothing to show for it, and in fact, a little bit of time trapped in their own end at the end of it, uh, the shift featured some very good hockey, but its end result was null. And I think even possibly a turning point in this game. They sort of shot their bullets in that early sequence and didn't have a lot of life left after that.
Yeah. I think if Nuge had scored on that early second period power play where he hit the crossbar, the Oilers needed a little luck. Like they did have 6 grade A shots in the first. They had a good first period. And that's really good. 6 grade A shots. You can't complain about that at all. Like they're playing hockey. And then Nuge gets that chance, boom. And then Hyman gets a really nice chance off the face off. McDavid puts it between his legs to him, and Hyman gets a good shot. And just two great chances on the power play, and one hits the post and the other hits the goalie, and the Oilers just never really crank it up after that again. That happens. Bruce, my number is Drake Caggiula now has 9 points in 10 games, and Noah Philp has 7 points in 10 games for Bakersfield. Philp had a pretty rusty start there, but he's coming on. I just think I've been saying this for some time. These two players should be on the Oilers. The Oilers need more aggression, and both these players, I think, can provide aggressive hockey at the NHL level. They also provide a bit more jump. They're not. I don't think either of them is a speedster, but they do have. I think they're faster than some of the Oilers players, and they have more jump, and they would give the fourth line more jump. I just think it's time. I've seen enough of Corey Perry and Derek Ryan, and I would bring up these two players and send down those two veteran players. Is what I would do. That would be my call. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. But the Oilers looked like a different team to me when those guys were called up earlier. And I'm just not seeing it from the veteran players. The Oilers have too many. They've got too much of the same. They already have veterans. They got Henrique, Connor Brown, Matthias Janmark. They got those veteran guys. Like if you need the veteran presence on the team, they kind of have that on your bottom end forwards. You don't need two more of them that are lesser versions of them. You need some young guys who can provide some energy. Now, Caggiula's not young; he's 30, but and Philp's not young; he's 26. But they're young. in comparison.
Youngish.
And then they got to bring in one more. Like, well, when Kane comes back, then like you could have a fourth line of Kajula, Philp, and Podkolzin as your energy line on the Oilers, and that might get it done, Bruce. Like, and I think you need to know this. I think, like, if you send down Ryan and Perry now, you call up these two guys and you give them 2 months, and then you see what you have. You see, and you know if you can rely on them by the trade deadline. You'll know then who you can count on and who you can't count on. And it's time, I think, to see what they have in Kajula and Philp at the NHL level, probably on a line with Podkolzin, and see if they have a decent energy line there, because they're desperate for it. They don't have it, and
Yeah.
we're 20 games into the season. What is it? Was that game 19? So I think
19. Yeah.
it's time. That's my argument. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, they could use an infusion of something. I mean, I'm just looking at the goal scoring leaders on the Oilers right now, just looking at forwards. Because, if you look at the actual point rolls, defensemen are 3, 4, and 5 on this team in points. They got Leon with 13 goals, Connor with 7. So that's 20 goals for the top two guys. Now, this is the whole rest of the forwards. Perry 3, Skinner 3, Hyman 3, Brown 3, Henrique 2, Arvidsson 2, Nugent Hopkins 1, Janmark 1, Ryan 0, and Podkolzin 0. So you add up the two guys that got 20 and the other 10 guys that got 18. And the other 10 guys, 9 of the 10 are 30 plus years old. There's only one young guy there, Podkolzin, one of the guys with 0 goals, mind you, but they've got they've not got a lot of youth and speed and energy and enthusiasm and all those good things. And I mean, sometimes the youth obviously bring bad mistakes and so on, but it seems like some of the veterans have been delivering on that front. So it's I'm a little worried about the makeup of this team. It's old. It's old, and it's. I mean, these guys have guys like obviously Skinner, Perry, Henrique, Nugent Hopkins. They have a long history. I mean, Hyman, a long history of being productive goal scorers. With multiple 20-goal seasons. Well, 3 goals through 19 games. That's on pace for a 13-goal season. That's third best among Oilers forwards. They have 2 guys on the team that are on pace to score as many as 15 goals this season. Like, where's the support? Like, aren't those guys? Didn't they go out and sign all them guys? Arvidsson and Skinner and Henrique. They spent $10 million on those 3 guys on July 1st. Aren't they supposed to be scoring points once in a while? And it just hasn't been happening. And they seem frustrated, and I know as a fan, I'm frustrated that there's just not a lot there in the way of support for the 2 big guys. And I'm sure the 2 big guys are terribly frustrated because they've seen this movie before.
Well, they bring in Skinner and Arvidsson too, like, and they're just.
Well, you think, yeah.
Who are good players.
Yeah. They got 5 goals between the 2 of them.
Janmark has as many points as Nugent Hopkins, 8 each. So, Nugent's just really in the.
Well, he pinged iron twice tonight.
Slump.
I mean, some of it is just bound to even up a little bit. But I mean, I'll safely predict right now that the Oilers will have more than 2 15-goal scorers by the end of the season. But it's a team-wide malaise that's now lasted for the first 6 weeks into the season. And
they're below 500 again, eh? Like, they're at fake 500 now?
Yeah, they're 9, 8, and 2, so they've got 9 wins and 10 losses.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, they're hanging in there. Like, it's not like last year where they need to go on a miracle run, but they do have to get it together. And I think it is time to make some shifts in your lineup. Like, it's just not it's not happening with this roster consistently. It's not good enough. It's obvious it's not good enough, and it's time to shake it up.
Well, I mean, offensively, it's not enough, and there is uh, they're pretty a-physical team, and they're not that speedy. And well, sure, let the puck do the work, and on their good nights, they're going to score 4 or 5 goals. Well, on the bad nights, apparently, they're going to score zero because they've been shut out 3 different times already this season. It's friggin' November. They played 2 games on Prime, and they got 0 goals on Amazon Prime twice. Jersey shut them out 3-0 in a tepid game, and now Montreal has done likewise.
Time for some changes. We'll see what
Change
happens.
channel. At least there's only 2 more Prime games. But, so far, so not good. If you're a hockey fan getting introduced to the game through Prime, you must be wondering what the hype is about.
Draisaitl and McDavid are off to pretty the high point totals aren't there, but they are both actually have been playing. Like McDavid's defense has been a little bit off this year, but his attacking at even strength's been really good. And Draisaitl's just been good at both ends of the ice. He's just been really getting it done.
Tops on the team coming into this game.
Oh, he's playing the best hockey of his career in a lot of ways this season, and so that's great. It's good to have one player who can make that claim. But and then just as Nurse starts playing the best hockey of his career, so we now know he's out 5 to 10 days. And I'll believe that when I see that. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that's true, man. It's a tough blow to the team and to him.
They keep saying the people that have talked to him or have heard from people, say that the good news is there doesn't appear to be any kind of lingering effects. They're just being cautious, and they need to be. I mean, it's after all November, and if you need Darnell Nurse in your lineup to beat Montreal in November, well, you probably shouldn't be having too many title aspirations, anyways. And I'm thinking they play tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, and then they have 5 days off. It's likely we won't see Nurse before Saturday, but if he's not then back in the lineup after that layoff, next Friday, November 29th, then that's cause for concern. I'm not going to really worry until that, but I'm not going to expect to see him much before that.
Yeah. All right, Bruce, let's leave it there. No sense belaboring this. We've already probably done that, but let's just leave it there. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
What's that word again? What's the secret password?
Hozanga.
All right. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. Hozanga.